सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरु मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। Next page. ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। परीक्षलोकान् कर्मचितान् ब्राह्मणो निर्वेदमायात् नास्ति कृतः कृतेन तद्विज्ञानार्थम् स गुरुमेवाभिगच्छेत् समित्पाणिः श्रोत्रियं ब्रह्मनिष्ठम्। परीक्षलोकान् कर्मचितान् ब्राह्मणः निर्वेदम् आयात्। The slokan pariksha, even though the literal meaning of loka is a realm, which in a Vedic context means heaven and other realms, in today's terms, loka means different possibilities of achievements, which may be worldly achievements of name, fame, power. That's all we know. Other worldly things we don't generally take into account. We don't take into account Swarga, heaven, what happens after death. There's no on the radar these days anyway, because we don't believe in those things basically, or we don't care for those things. We don't believe in heaven. If it is there, I don't care. That's our attitude. And so the analysis today would be basically the same way, but the form may be somewhat different. That by the word loka, we may not mean Swarga and other lokas. But by the word loka we mean the possible achievements for a human being, whether it is fame, power, wealth. These are the achievements for ego gratification. What is meant here by loka is basically sense gratification, because the pleasure which you get in heaven, etc., basically all pleasure of the senses. But today the pleasure of senses may or may not be that important for people on whom ego is predominant. For a sensuous person, perhaps the pleasure of senses would be important. For an emotional person, the pleasure of emotional company, etc., will be important. For an intellectual person, the intellectual pleasures, academic pleasures, or traveling, seeing new things, etc., would be important. Variety of pleasures are available in our life. But mostly what we talk about, the pleasures of ego gratification, which comes from wealth and power and fame, that's the ultimate. So pariksha, analyzing any kind of pleasure for which the mind has a value. A mind may have value for sensory pleasures, and the mind may have value for emotional company and emotional gratification. A third mind may have value for intellectual gratification, which comes from acquiring knowledge, which comes from seeing things, new things, etc. Or ego gratification, which is generally most talked about, which is power, fame, wealth. Whatever these possibilities are there for gratification, basically what human being is seeking is self-gratification. And that need for self-gratification may express itself in these different channels of seeking gratification of senses, of emotions, of intellect, or of ego. All of them in combination. So whatever possibility there is for acquiring the gratification, what you call pleasure or happiness, at any possible level from any source, known or what you can project in your mind, either known or thought or thinkable, anything that is even thinkable. What are Swami if I get, suppose Brahmaloka, where I'm always enjoying the pleasures and the objects of pleasure, always. You can imagine anything. Any kind of happiness that you can imagine. And suppose that you can achieve that level of happiness by some kind of an effort today or tomorrow. The human being may invent variety of things and therefore it may make possible to achieve something which is unachievable today. So any kind of experience of happiness, imagine. Pariksha. But analyze, pariksha means analyzing a given thing from all sides. There is also the cost involved, investment involved in any kind of pleasure, by the way. Nothing comes free. With reference to the pleasure of heaven, we talked about punya, investment in terms of performing virtuous actions and accumulating punya or virtue. That is an investment. But every experience of happiness involves an investment on our part. Nothing comes free. If we really analyze what is the net gain, what you get in terms of gratification as compared to what your investment was, and then see whether or not there is a net gain there, number one. Lord Krishna doesn't think so. Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkhayone evate. Lord Krishna says that any bhoga or any pleasure that comes on account of contact with some object of pleasure, that is dukkha yonaya, there is nothing but yoni or a cause or source of nothing but dukkha or sorrow. Swamiji, I don't care, but there is so much sukha, little bit of dukkha I'll tolerate. Then we have to analyze a little further. In that verse, Lord Krishna says something further. Adyantavantah kaunteya. Now, one that any pleasure that comes to us demands a lot of investment of time and energy on our part, which is painful because you work hard to acquire something. Having acquired, you are ecstatic, you got what you wanted. But you find that its effect slowly starts wearing out. What is ecstatic and what is exciting at the first moment, that level of excitement does not remain as the time goes, and slowly you get used to that thing. So for a young man, getting a BMW he was in heaven when he was first behind the wheels and driving at 85 miles an hour. But as the time goes, then you get used to that pleasure. And then it loses its capacity to provide the same level of excitement, which is called the law of diminishing return. It has nothing to do with that BMW, it has to do something with our mind. The mind always wants something new, it wants variety, and then it gets bored, used to something. In that sense, a thing loses the capacity then to create that same level of excitement in us. Even that thing is the same, what it is the same. And so then, mind looks for something else. We are never faithful to anything, then I just discard. I want something else. And I have to try for some other thing. That the pleasure that comes from anything is kshayishnu, meaning that it is perishable, it wears out, it comes to an end. It comes at a great cost if we take into account all the investment that we have made in securing that pleasure. And then when there is separation from that dear object or attachment, then also there is pain. This is all there. But somebody says, I don't care what pain is involved, I get that much pleasure that I'll settle with that, suppose. Then also Lord Krishna says, you look further. Adyantavantah kaunteya. These pleasures have adi and anta. Adi means beginning and an end, meaning that any experience of pleasure has a beginning and has an end. That every experience has. As we just said that a thing gives us happiness for a period of time and then it loses capacity to give us happiness, and so that's every experience of happiness also has an end. Every experience has. So similarly, experience of happiness also has a beginning and an end. Yes, so what, Swamiji? What are you trying to tell us? What is Lord Krishna trying to tell us when he says that this happiness that comes from a source other than you has a beginning and an end? You know what he's trying to say? He is drawing our attention to a very fundamental law or rule, which Gaudapadacharya stated in his text called Mundakopanishad. He said, Ada vante cha yannasti vartamanepi tattatha. Adau ante cha yannasti, nasti, what is not Adau in the beginning, Ananda, what is not in the beginning and what is not in the end. So, look at the experience of pleasure. Before that experience began, there was no happiness. And after the experience ends also, there is no happiness. So in the beginning, there is happiness less, Even if you don't call it unhappiness, which unhappiness is there in fact. Before that experience of happiness, I was always craving for it, looking forward to it. There was no happiness before that experience. There is no happiness after the experience comes to an end, right? So in the beginning there is no happiness, at the end there is no happiness. You follow? When we take into account any experience of pleasure, as you go to a dining hall, then I'm sure that they will serve something, because there's a special camp, and so I look forward to. I usually inquire beforehand what's going to be there, and so even when I'm talking to you, my mind thinks about, okay, as soon as this is over, then I'm going to have my idli, sambar, this, that, X, Y, Z. But before experience of that thing, the happiness is not there. When the experience is over, then also it is not there. So, adau ante cha yanna, see the happiness which is not there in the beginning, it is not there in the end. Is that right? Because there is an experience of happiness which has a beginning and an end. That means that happiness was not there in the beginning. Otherwise you can't say that experience began. The happiness is not there at the end also. So, adau ante cha yanna, see what is not there in the beginning and end, meaning lack of happiness, right? The rule says, vartamanepi tat tatha, in the middle also it is not there. This is a big thing. What is not there in the beginning and what is not there in the end is not there in the middle also. What do you mean it's not there? I'm experiencing. So either you're experiencing or you think your experience is a delusion or it's a reality. To explain this, Shankaracharya gives an example there. The aputraha devadatta, this devadatta does not have a son. Apparently in those days son was the most desirable thing, I guess. So I'm just repeating the example. I have no way of son or daughter, etc. But, Because the moment you say putra, then immediately have the people look at me. What do you mean putra? What about putri? So, aputraha devadatta. A devadatta, poor fellow, doesn't have a progeny, doesn't have a child. You may be always thinking of a child. In dream he has a son or he has a child. When he wakes up, he was as before. So before the dream, this Devadatta does not have a son. After the dream is over, again Devadatta does not have a son. In between, when he experiences this son, understand it is not there. Devadatta thinks that this is my son. In reality, it is not there. No, this is now a different level of thinking, by the way. Now we are going from the level of thinking of this Vyavahara to something higher. As to the happiness that I am experiencing, or thinking that the happiness that comes from an object of pleasure, is it really so? When I am enjoying something which is an object of pleasure and enjoying that happiness, it is my understanding or conclusion that it is that thing that gave me happiness, whether it is a car or it is food or any object of pleasure gave me the happiness. So Vedanta now wants to question this or understand this. Where is that happiness coming from? When I'm enjoying rasgulla, enjoying a movie, enjoying anything, and enjoying happiness, where does that happiness come from? I'm sure if I ask you a question, you will definitely answer me right away. That is when you answer, not when you enjoy. When I ask, where does the happiness come from? The happiness that comes from when I'm enjoying a movie, where does it come from? From the movie, is it not so? But I'm sure that all of you who listen to Vedanta and so forth, what will you tell me? Where does it come from? Comes from? Comes from the self, isn't it? I'm sure that will be the answer. Like Swami would say, if you ask anybody in India, where is God? Everywhere. It's an answer, which everybody gives. So all Vedantic students will say, where does happiness come from? From the self. That's about all. That's the lip service. If that has really been digested, if that has really become my Vijnanam, the Jnanam Vijnana. Jnanam is this understanding, Vijnanam is something that has become a reality for me. Follow? Very often we stop at the level of Jnanam. Unless we make it Vijnanam, it does not bless us. Like those little parrots who kept on repeating. There are hundreds of parrots on a big tree, banyan tree, and there is an old parrot who sees one fellow coming with his net, a hunter coming with his net. Beware of hunter's net, beware of hunter's net. He warned all these parrots. They all started repeating, beware of hunter's net, beware of hunter's net, beware of hunter's net. Hunter came, spread his net. These fellows all got trapped. And they're still repeating, beware of hunter's net, beware of. That jnanam should become vijnanam. What is meant by beware of hunter's net means what? I'm not accusing you or imposing anything, but I'm just saying the difference between the two. So we all know that happiness comes from within. Don't say within. Happiness comes from the self. Within also means there is something inside. Yes, Swami, self. So within and self are different things, by the way. When I use the word within, then there is a without, isn't it? Then what's the reference that determines within and without? This body becomes a reference. What is outside the body is called outside, what is within the body is called within. So when we say happiness comes from within, from somewhere within the body. Yes, Swami, from my heart, from inside. But ideally you should say the happiness, the source of happiness is myself. Please tell me, am I within or without? The self is neither within nor without. It comes from the self, from consciousness, which is myself. Meaning that only consciousness can be the source of happiness. An unconscious thing cannot be source of happiness. And not only a conscious thing, of course, and consciousness happens to be boundless also. Mundakopanishad says, Yo vai bhuma tat sukham nalpe sukham asti. Then says Sanat Kumara says to his disciple, who is another sage Narada, Yo vai bhuma tat sukham. That which is bhuma, which means abundant, which is infinite, which is limitless, hey Narada, what is limitless alone is happiness. Not in limitless that is happiness. You follow? Yad bhuma, yo vai bhuma tat sukham. Limitless is happiness. Not in limitless that is happiness. You follow? What is infinite, what is limitless is happiness. Nalpe sukhamasti. In alpa, which is limited, there cannot be happiness. This is the very, very profound revelation in the Upanishad. Self happens to be limitless. Atma, by the very word Atma means limitless. Apnoti the Atma, that which pervades everything is called Atma. You know? So by this statement, there cannot be happiness in anything that is limited. Now tell me, where is that limitlessness? Limitless. One thing is for sure, that anything outside there, including Brahmaloka, also is limited. Is it not so? Inasmuch as whatever is there is all created. The universe is created, whether it is by evolution or God created or whatever the theory you accept. So when we travel along Route 33, there is a signboard, billboard, wherein it says, God created. So there is a picture of evolution of men like this. You know how they show the evolution? Smaller, little bigger. That's the way to show evolution. A cross, God created. Meaning that we don't accept evolution, God created you as you are. You didn't evolve from something, regardless of what the theory is. So does Vedanta accept evolution? Vedanta has no problem in evolution. Not the evolution that they think, by the way. They think that consciousness evolves, that we don't accept. The organism evolves, that we say. Consciousness does not evolve, is ever limitless, ever evolved. But is it not so, Swami, that consciousness evolved or was created when there was a primordial soup and then evolved, and the consciousness got created? Guess what? Consciousness is created according to them. Matter is not created. Consciousness is created. Vedanta says matter is created. What they say? Consciousness is created. Matter is always there. It's the law of conservation of mass and energy. But if you ask them what existed in the beginning of creation, there is nothing. So how did that conservation work? I do not know. To say that in the beginning, before the Big Bang, there was nothing. And all these things came into being. Now that is not our subject matter, so there is no point in all. Our point here is that whatever is out there is all created. That's all we know. Before Big Bang, the universe was not there, and understand that universe includes his body, out there includes body also. And the sense organs and mind, everything is included. All created. And whatever is created, they also know is going to perish someday. When it will perish, God alone knows. But it is expanding, universe will contract someday. It's a cyclic thing. What is perishable is limited in time, because it was created in time, it is growing in time, it will decline in time and perish in time. It is limited in time. So limited in place or space. So what is out there, and this rule applies not only to what is on the earth, but in case you accept all these bhuhu, bhuvaha, swaha, maha, jana, tapa, satyam, satyaloka, brahmaloka, suppose you accept that. We have no objection in accepting, we are not interested. Why should I not accept heaven? Let it be there. As long as it's not in my radar, as long as it is of no use to me, I don't care. I don't mind accepting it. If heaven was important to me, and heaven was, then it played a role in my life, then it would be important for me to investigate whether such a thing is there or not. It doesn't play a role in my life. Do you accept black holes? I don't care. I accept. I don't care to reject, put it this way. Because there is nothing to do in my life. There is black hole, there is black energy, there is this, that, maybe. Dark energy, dark matter. Whatever it is, all created and never perishable. Meaning it is limited, understand. By this formula of Mundakopanishad, na alpe sukham asti, there cannot be happiness in anything that is limited. What about Brahmaloka, Swamiji? Lord Krishna says, Ah Brahma bhuvanan lokaha punaravartino Arjuna. Lord Krishna says that, hey Arjuna, all the realms up to Brahmaloka, they are also punaravartina. They also revolve, meaning they go through the cycle of creation, sustenance, dissolution. Everything out there is created, perishable, limited. If you simply go by the formula of Mundakopanishad, nalpe sukhamasti, meaning that there cannot be happiness in any of those things. So what is limitless? Only that which is uncreated. What is uncreated? Consciousness is uncreated. But Swamiji scientists say that consciousness was created in the primordial soup before some billion years. I don't know what that date is, but the universe is 14 billion years old. So when did that primordial soup happen and when did that consciousness can? But it can't be very old. Because evolution is not a very old theory. I mean, it's evolved over some million years or whatever it is. No consciousness. But how do you explain, Swamiji? There was no consciousness before that primordial soup, and then consciousness came into being. How do you explain it? We say that consciousness was not created, it became manifest. It's always there. Like electricity is there. When the medium of manifestation comes, the bulb, then it's not that bulb comes, so electricity is created. It becomes manifest. What is there becomes manifest. Similarly, consciousness became manifest. When the organism, which was the appropriate medium for manifestation, got created, then the consciousness became manifest, not got created. So there is one thing uncreated, that is what? Consciousness, Atma, the self. Now this has to be also understood, because perhaps these essayists won't accept this. There are people who won't accept Atma, they won't accept anything. But we accept that there is self, consciousness, uncreated, and therefore not limited by time. In fact, time itself came from there. Time and space itself. See, this is what Shankaracharya says. Bijasyankurvantaram, what is it? Jagadidam prang nirvikalpam punah maya kalpita desha kala kalana vaichitra chitri kritam. Very profound idea. Maya kalpita desha kala kalana vaichitra. Maya kalpita desha. Desha means space and kala means time. Desha and kala which are projected by Maya, by primordial energy. And what this universe is nothing but a union of Desha and Kala. That's what it says. Maya kalpita Desha Kala Kalana Vaichitra. As a combination, as a variety or diversity, so the universe is nothing but a product of the union of space and time, which are products of Maya. Everything is created and therefore limited, and therefore there cannot be happiness anywhere. In case we feel there is happiness, it is more like Devadatta thinking that I have a son, only when he wakes up there is no sun. What was not there in the beginning, not there in the end, in the middle, in the dream, if you think it is there, understand that it is not there. Adavante chennasti. So Lord Krishna says, Ye samsparshaya bhoga dukkhayo nevat adyantavantah kaunteya. Hey kaunteya, every experience of pleasure is adi and anta, beginning and end. And therefore, it is not what you think it is. It doesn't come from anything else, because nothing in the universe has the capacity to give us happiness. We experience happiness, then we only have a delusion in our mind that we think happiness comes from there. In fact, I am the source of happiness. So, Parikshalokan, further. So, not only examining, but then So, when we really give a thought to what is this phenomenon called happiness, then we realize that happiness, there is only one source of happiness. Yeah, all our guests were coming today or tomorrow? Today. So please help them to, if you want to sit down in the class, you may do so. If you do not want to, then you kindly please, all of you wait out there. This class will be over, then you can come and have darshan, okay? Please. We will have arati also, you can attend that. You can take the round in the Gurukulam and see, and then come back. And while you are out there, kindly refrain from talking because that sound comes here. No problem. Go ahead. Nice. Okay. Yes, right. Yes. No, you're all welcome. No question, yes. Pariksha lokan, karma chetan, whichever way the pariksha is done. Either we understand, even we accept that happiness comes from those objects of pleasure, then also we realize that happiness has a beginning and an end. And that it leaves me ultimately, I have a high when I'm experiencing happiness. When the experience is over, then again there is a low, and I find myself craving for it again. Understand that every experience of this pleasure is like an intoxication. We get intoxicated. And so it gives us a high at that time. Once it is over, then there is a withdrawal symptom. We feel again same kind of craving, and we want again more of it. Again we want it. So when one examines all this and realizes that as long as I am seeking happiness from something outside of myself, so long that happiness is going to have this limitation that the net gain is zero. Even though for a period of time I do experience happiness, but when I take into account all the investment that is required of time and energy in creating that happiness, and even while I'm experiencing happiness, there is also some level of dissatisfaction is there because you think that it could be better. Idlis are very good, but not like that day. Chutney is good, but not like that day. Meaning that there is always some comparison in there, but there is always some inadequacy in every experience. And when it comes to an end again, I miss it. When you take any intelligent person, when he takes all of these into account, he realizes that in fact this is not a winning game. This takes me round and round, always searching for something which I'm not able to find it. Perhaps then he thinks, what is the reason why I do not seem to find any sustained level of satisfaction? Once happiness experience is over, then I find myself seeking again. Why am I seeking again? Then perhaps he realizes that is because there is a craving within me, and that craving doesn't become satisfied. It seems to be momentarily shrouded in the experience of happiness, and it comes back again. Before I had that experience, that craving was there. During happiness experience, the craving seemed to go away, and afterwards again it came back, means what? It was there in the middle also. If the rule is what is not in the beginning and end is not in the middle, what in the beginning and end is in the middle also. Meaning that I was just deluding myself by simply running away from my sense of craving and lack and want and distracting myself into an experience. Moment that distraction is over, moment that intoxication is over, I get back to where I was. Thus examining this, that I am seeking happiness, of course, is taken, is accepted, is granted, because that's what I find myself doing. It's not that I decided to be happy, I find myself always wanting to be happy. Meaning that desire for happiness is a natural desire, not a cultivated desire, not something that I have created. Our Swamiji, while talking about desires in those days, used to talk of two kinds of desires. Natural desires and cultivated desires. Hunger is a natural desire, meaning that it is there, as a part of the creation. I have not created. And so need for food is something natural. But we find that food is provided in nature to fulfill that desire. But then when I ask that, no, not this food, I want kimva, not this, then God also is in a, then there is no guarantee that would be satisfied, All kinds of crazy things people want now. Suppose if everybody starts eating kimva, where is the supply of that, It comes from some place in Africa and everybody starts eating kimva, then there will be no supply of kimva. Run out of those things. And Swami was making a lot of joke those days, 30 years ago when he started his ashram, alfalfa. Those because a lot of Western students were here and proteins and this and all kinds of things. And they would have sprouts, something was sprouted, And Swami, I guess, quite dislike for all this stuff anyway. So, coming from Tamil Nadu with, all that stuff, all raw stuff doesn't appeal, But anyway, the cultivated desire is different thing. There is always a provision in the nature for fulfilling the natural desire, but not necessarily for cultivated desire. So desire for food is a specific kind of food is a cultivated desire. I may or may not find necessarily a provision for that. But how about desire for happiness? It's a natural desire. I have not created it. I did not one day think, I want to be happy. So what did I want so far? No, since birth I want to be happy. For every natural desire, there must be a provision. That's another thing in nature. When they have given you teeth, then there must be food also. Now, Pariksha Lokan, when I look around all possible sources of happiness, from this earth all the way up to Brahmaloka, which was a range available then, today you can have your own range of what is available in a given country to some other country, and then Americans may think that I think Europe is better. And Norway is better, that's the best country. Happiest people are in Norway and Oslo, some of those Scandinavian countries, they say. Your poor Americans are not very happy, not as happy as them, let alone Indians. Thus we can, in our own mind, fantasize and imagine something, but whatever it is, it's always going to be, is definitely limited. But then that means that my desire for happiness, what kind of happiness do I want again? Not just happiness that I want, but I want not this much happiness, I want all that much happiness. How much happiness do you want? This much? That much? That much? I want all this, means I want boundless happiness. Whether I can get it or not is a different thing, but at least I wish boundless happiness. How long do you want to be happy? 1 minute a day is all right? No, 1 hour? 2 hours a day? 24/7, isn't it? I know it's not going to happen, but if I had my way, I want boundless happiness 24/7. We'll give you that happiness as long as you sit in this hall. Once you go outside, then you're back in samsara. No, Swamiji. I want to be happy, no doubt here, but outside also, at my home also, my workplace, everywhere. Whether my boss is there, mother-in-law, father-in-law, everywhere, I want to be happy. Meaning that at all times, at all places and all conditions, I want boundless happiness. This is my desire. So it is not only analyzing the happiness that comes from there, but simultaneously also analyzing what do I want? Why am I in this? What is this cycle going on that I'm chasing something and just going round and round and nothing, this doesn't seem to an end. What do I want? How come nothing seems to give me any lasting satisfaction? Everything gives me satisfaction for a period of time and then it loses its appeal to me and then I want something else and I'm after chasing something else. What do I want? We always ask our children, what do you want? You wanted candy? Here is candy. No, another one. Not this time. What do you want? But then if we ask, what does our mind want? Then we realize that the poor mind, even though mind is so little, but its desires are boundless. Can you imagine that? Such a little insignificant mind. What does it want? Boundless happiness. At all the times, at all the places, under all conditions, and there is no such happiness anywhere. So what's the natural desire? For limitless happiness. And I find it nowhere. Does it mean that this desire of limitless happiness with which I am born is futile or is condemned to be always failed? Meaning, would I never fulfill that desire? I don't see anywhere where something can give me that happiness. Parikshalokar karmachitan. Thus this pariksha is done from all sides. What is investment involved? What's the gain involved? What's the reality involved? Brahmana, there's a word there. So when word Brahmana comes in, traditionally the thing is meant only for the Brahmana caste. So we accept Brahmana as a Brahmana, but now maybe that was true when the caste system was, functioning well, where we could generally predict that a person born in a Brahmana family would have the disposition of a Brahmana also. But now by word Brahmana, we should not take Brahmana by birth, but at least Brahmana by disposition. Because who can analyze this? Brahmana. Who is the Brahmana? Lord Krishna describes the Brahmana. Samo, Damaha, Tapaha, Shaucham, Kshanti, Arjavam, Evacha, Jnanam, Vijnanam, Astikyam, Brahma Karma Svabhavajam. What's the disposition of a Brahmana? So body Brahmana may not be, meaning I may not be born in a Brahmana family, okay? What is important is the disposition of a Brahmana. Meaning that we all have to become Brahmanas in that sense. Because this verse is Brahmana. Now no one interpret conveniently that it should be Brahmana by birth, but certainly Brahmana by disposition. What is the disposition? How is the disposition? Shamaha, Damaha, Tapaha, Shaucham. Shama means tranquility of the mind, one who has control over the mind. Damaha means control over sense organs, one who is a master of himself. Tapaha, no indulgence in life, austerities in life. Shaucham, purity of the body, mind, both. Arjavam, honesty, straightforwardness. That may make you a miserable person, but then that's what it is. So, our Swami used to say Brahmana. Once in Ahmedabad, we took Swami to somebody for Bhiksha, which was a very, one of our disciples, all right, but, the room was so small, we were sitting on the floor. I said to Swamiji, apologetically, that we are in a very poor family. He said, Brahmana means Daridra. Brahmana means poor only, because Brahmana Really, ideally, is no source of income other than whatever he is given by others. The source of income can create greed in you and create all kinds of problems. He didn't have a source of income. Straightforwardness, transparency, etc. So these are the qualities of Brahmana. In fact, there is a Brahmana in each one of us, by the way. Or I should say that we are by nature Brahmanas only. So this Samaha, Damaha, Tapaha or Kshanti, forgiveness, Arjavam, straightforwardness, Shaucham, purity. The core person is like this. Each one of us in core person is like that. But because of the reasons of our unintelligence, wrong understanding of life, wrong perception about myself, wrong perception of life, a human being does things that go against this order. Sometimes your moral order also. In which case we keep on accumulating papa. And these qualities, they don't get lost. This core person doesn't get destroyed, thank God, that we remain that core person. Except that now that is shrouded, he is sort of, he's sent into the background. He's buried underneath. This core person gets buried underneath. Because of the way we lived our life unintelligently. And therefore give priorities to wrong things, and therefore wrong values also, because the priorities drive me, and therefore sometimes I compromise the values, I do things, and that's how I violate the order, and thus I keep on accumulating papa also. That means like Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So I'm, by disposition I may be a Shudra also, or Vaishya also, or Kshatriya also, depending upon my karma. Meaning that we have to become Brahmana also to reverse that whole process, So whatever it is that has buried this Brahmana within me and has made this Vaishya, Shudra prominent in me, they are all good, they are required for running the society, everybody is required. If you don't want all Brahmanas in a society, then society won't run. But for this purpose we need Brahmana, you follow? For what we are discussing here. Because when you become Brahmana, then you become useless for other things also. Very often. Because you become transparent, straightforwardness, transparent you have become, you can't tell a lie, you can't cheat, you can't do those things, and then you can't survive. In this hostile atmosphere to survive, you have to have those things. That's what our Chanakya would say. But here we are talking about a person who has done enough of that part, who doesn't have now a great value of being a part of the whole thing. Now his priorities have changed. So then Lord Krishna also shows in Bhagavad Gita how to reverse that process and how to bring out that core person who is Brahmana. It's called a Karma Yogi. Yoga means attitude. So karma means living life, performing duties, playing our roles. With Lord Krishna teaches attitude, yogastaha ku karmani, etc. That will be discussed on Sunday. But the attitude of being contributor, in short. So to reverse that process and bring back the Brahmana, not that we have to create him, is there. But he is overwhelmed by all other forces which we inadvertently allowed to enter. So these asuras or demons are there, and then the devatas are also there, but demons are more powerful. So we have to deliberately cultivate those divine tendencies. Ahimsa, satyam, akrodha, tyaga, kshanti, apaisharam. Brahmana. So we will interpret this word Brahmana as a person having a disposition, a contemplative disposition of life. One who has enough leisure in life to contemplate upon the realities of life and not just these mundane things, that he had done enough. And now he has become grown in maturity of the mind, where now he is ready to dwell upon or deliberate upon the reality of life. What am I seeking? Who am I will come later, but what am I seeking? That I am seeking something is very sure. Because I find myself that I am, driven by one desire after the other, and therefore there is something that I am desiring. Even though desires keep on changing, the fact remains that there is a desire at any time. The desires come and go, but the desirer always remains. Do you follow? If I realize that, the desirer doesn't go, and that fellow is a craving, and that's why he's suffering from want and lack. So lacking and wanting person does not go. So what do I want? I want to become free from lack and want. I have to recognize that. So when I have an experience of so-called happiness, what is happening at that time is momentarily I become free from lack and want, from craving. Because it is that craving that denies me the happiness, and when that goes away, then momentarily my mind becomes free from the craving, from the wanting, from the lack. And they explain that at that time the mind comes face to face with myself. Because that craving or lack or want always drives my mind outward. When the mind becomes free from that, then it becomes face to face with itself, becomes inward looking. Which is its nature. Nature of mind is always inward looking. But this cravings drove it out. So when those driving forces are not there, mind naturally becomes settled in itself, inward looking, comes face to face with itself, then experiences the self. That is when the happiness happens. Meaning that if an object also cannot stop me from craving, then I don't experience. There is no rule that just because I like something and I experience that I'll be happy, my mind should become free from craving, then only happiness can come. Sometimes a good thing comes, but I still don't enjoy it. We're all looking forward to go to a movie, and so much great reviews were there, and we said this Friday we are going to... So there's a friend circle and we have booked the ticket and we are all traveling. In between some discussion comes among friends, and then something happens, and then some arguments happen, and then... So sometimes people are so committed to their argument that they don't care. Other fellow his argument is, proven wrong, is hurt. So by this talking I get hurt. By the time I reach the theatre, I'm a hurt person. Movie comes, I'm not there to enjoy it. There is no guarantee that just because there is an object of enjoyment that I'll be happy. That mind should be free from that craving. So when we realize it's what we call the anatomy of happiness, if you want to call it. That it comes when the mind comes face to face with itself, and that is where the source of happiness is. That is the source of happiness. Brahmana nirvedamayad. Nasti kritah, further it says, Nasti kritah kritena. Nasti akrutah kritena. Nasti is not there. Akrutah. Krutah means what is created, what is done, what is created. Akrutah, uncreated. Nasti akrutah krutena. Krutena, by doing, karmana, by karma, by effort. akrutaha nasti, meaning that you cannot create or cannot attain akrutaha, uncreated. What is uncreated? What is uncreated also must be imperishable, meaning nitya. I cannot create what is nitya by this karma that is anitya. So all of these happens in his mind as a result of this contemplation process. We'll continue in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.